At 10:26 p.m., the Aurora Express, a triumph of American engineering, plunged into the Obsidian Tunnel, a 20-mile chasm beneath the Rocky Mountains' rugged peaks. Sophia Bennett, 16, heir to Daniel Bennett's AI empire, scrolled her tablet, unaware of the danger lurking. The train, carrying elite moguls, hummed with precision, its cabins aglow with soft light. Then, signals vanished, radar blank, comms silent. Denver's control hub froze, panic rising as the train disappeared into the tunnel's dark. Aboard, lights flickered, silence gripping the air. Sophia's instincts stirred. In the rear, Kara Evans, a technician in a gray jumpsuit, sat unnoticed, her sharp eyes tracking two suspicious crew members. 30 minutes later, the Aurora emerged. Intact, but Kara was gone. No trace, no record. Whispers spread. She'd thwarted a disaster, saved Sophia. Headlines praised AI, but Daniel's silence hinted at secrets. Who was Kara? A savior? Erased from truth? The Aurora Express, a silver marvel of American innovation, sliced through the Rocky Mountains night, its sleek cars gleaming under fleeting moonlight. At 10:26 p.m., it plunged into the Obsidian Tunnel, a 20-mile abyss carved beneath jagged peaks, its stone walls swallowing all light. Sophia Bennett, 16, heir to Daniel Bennett's AI defense empire, sat in a plush leather seat, her auburn hair catching the cabin's soft LED glow. She scrolled through encrypted files on her tablet, her sharp eyes unaware of the menace coiling nearby. The train, a showcase of autonomous engineering, ferried a curated elite, moguls in tailored suits, aides whispering deals, a lone journalist scribbling notes, toward Denver. Champagne flutes clinked, their chatter masking an undercurrent of unease that hung like a shadow. In the rear car, Kara Evans sat, her bulky frame cloaked in a gray jumpsuit, her cap pulled low to shield eyes that burned with purpose. Listed as a track systems technician, she was invisible to the passengers, a fixture as unremarkable as the polished seats. Her hands rested on a small bag, fingers grazing the cool metal of a multi-tool, a hairpin tucked beside it. Kara's gaze, sharp as flint, swept the cabin, locking onto two crew members who'd boarded in Salt Lake City. One, tall with a scarred knuckle, moved with a soldier's precision. The other, wiry and restless, avoided the steward's pleasantries. She'd clocked them the moment they stepped aboard, their movements a discordant note in the train's rhythm, their black case too heavy for routine tools. At 10:27, the air shifted. The cabin's lights flickered, a low buzz rippling through the walls, unnoticed by most but chilling to those who felt it. Sophia glanced up, her instincts, honed by her father's world of secrets, prickling as the train's hum faltered. Passengers paused, glasses hovering mid-sip. A mogul's laugh died, replaced by a nervous cough. In Denver's control hub, operators stared at blank screens, their voices rising in panic. The Aurora's signals, GPS, radio, transponder, had vanished, as if the train had been swallowed by the tunnel's depths. No train had ever gone dark in the Obsidian, a fortress of engineering designed to be unbreachable. Yet, the Aurora was gone, its absence a void that gripped the world outside. Kara didn't flinch. Her pulse stayed steady, her mind a steel trap processing every detail. 3 days prior, a coded message had arrived on a burner phone, coordinates, a passenger list, a single name, Sophia. The tip wasn't random. Someone wanted the girl, not for ransom, but for leverage, tied to Daniel Bennett's AI patents. Kara's past was a locked vault, whispers of CIA black ops, a mission in Yemen that left her team dead, her name erased by betrayal. She was a ghost, hired for jobs no one else could touch. Her seat in the last car was deliberate, closest to the service hatch, with a clear view of the cabin's 60 passengers for exits, and critical wiring hubs within reach. The tunnel's walls seemed to press closer, the air thick with unspoken dread. Sophia tucked her tablet away, her fingers brushing the armrest as if seeking stability. The journalist, wiry and alert, scribbled faster, sensing a story. Kara's gaze flicked to the crew members, now edging toward the control car, their steps too measured. The train's AI dashboard, visible through a glass partition, blinked erratically, a warning lost on the revelry. Kara's fingers tightened on her bag, her mind mapping the train schematics. 12 cars, every panel memorized. The game had begun, the tunnel her board. She'd played in darker places, deserts, war zones, shadows where hope died fast. Sophia's eyes met hers for a fleeting second, a spark of intuition passing between them. Whatever came next, Kara was ready. The Aurora Express barreled through the obsidian tunnel's suffocating dark, its silver cars trembling as if sensing the brewing storm. In the rear car, Kara Evans sat motionless, her bulky frame blending into the shadows of her gray jumpsuit. The manifest listed her as a track systems technician, a role so mundane it rendered her invisible to the elite passengers sipping champagne up front. Her cap, pulled low, concealed eyes that burned with purpose, scanning the cabin like a hawk over a field. She noted 2 crew members who'd boarded late in Salt Lake City. One tall, his knuckles scarred, his gait too measured, the other wiry, his glances too quick, avoiding the steward's pleasantries. Kara's fingers grazed her small bag, feeling the weight of a multi-tool and a hairpin, tools of her trade. Unremarkable, but deadly in her hands. She wasn't here by chance. 3 days ago, a coded message had slipped into her burner phone. Coordinates, a passenger list, a single name, Sophia. The tip pointed to a threat, not ransom, but something deeper, tied to Daniel Bennett's AI defense empire. Kara's past was a vault sealed tight. Whispers of CIA black ops in Yemen. A botched mission that left her team dead and her name scrubbed from records. She'd walked away, burned by betrayal, vowing to work alone. Now, she was a ghost, hired for jobs no one else could touch. Her seat in the last car was strategic, closest to the service hatch, with a clear line of sight to the cabin's 60 passengers, for exits, and critical wiring hubs within 10 feet. Sophia Bennett, seated near the front, laughed softly with an aide, her auburn hair catching the cabin's glow. The 16-year-old was sharp, raised on her father's tech, but oblivious to the danger. Kara's gaze lingered on her, then flicked to the scarred crew member, who adjusted a black case with unnatural care. The wiry one hovered near the dining car, his hand brushing a pocket too often. Kara's mind traced the train schematics, memorized over sleepless nights in a Denver safe house. The obsidian tunnel was a 20-mile trap, perfect for an ambush, impossible to escape. She'd mapped every car, every panel, every wire. The control car, visible through a glass partition, blinked erratically, unnoticed by the revelry. The cabin's air grew heavy, the passengers' chatter faltering as the lights flickered again. A mogul's glass paused mid-sip. The journalist scribbled faster. Kara's pulse stayed even, her calm a predator's stillness. She'd faced worse, desert ambushes, midnight raids, where hesitation meant death. Her cover held. No one questioned the heavy-set technician in the back. The scarred crew member glanced at his partner. A silent signal passing between them. Kara caught it, her mind a steel trap. They were moving soon, and she was ready. Sophia's laughter stopped, her eyes darting to the flickering dashboard. She sensed something, a spark of her father's intuition. Kara's fingers brushed the hairpin, its bent tip a relic of past jobs. The tunnel's walls pressed closer, amplifying every sound, the clink of glass, the hum of steel, the faint buzz of the crew's hidden device. The game was unfolding, and Kara was its unseen player. She didn't need a weapon yet. Her mind was enough. The passenger's ignorance was her shield, the tunnel's dark her ally. Whatever came next, she'd already calculated her first move. The Aurora Express thundered through the obsidian tunnel, its sleek cars cloaked in darkness, the air thick with an unspoken menace. At 10:28 p.m., the cabin's soft glow flickered, and a low buzz pulsed through the walls, unnoticed by most but chilling to those who felt it. Sophia Bennett, 16, stood rigid, Grayson's taser pressed against her spine, her eyes sharp with defiance despite the fear. Passengers huddled, their whispers drowned by the train's rumble. Mason, the scarred hijacker, barked into his sat phone, his knuckles tightening as his handlers reported a glitch in their plan. In the rear car, Kara Evans sat, her gray jumpsuit blending into the shadows, her cap shielding her gaze. To the passengers, she was nothing, a technician, part of the train's machinery. But her mind was ablaze, slicing through the chaos. Mason drew a compact stun device, its arc crackling as he struck the lead security guard, a broad-shouldered ex-SEAL, who collapsed silently. Gasps rippled through the cabin, glasses clattering. Grayson slammed a black box into the comms panel, its hum swallowing all signals: radio, GPS, AI diagnostics. The train was blind, cut off from the world. Mason's voice sliced through. Nobody moves, or the girl dies. Grayson yanked Sophia from her seat, her tablet skidding across the aisle. Her defiance wavered, fear in her eyes. Mason's accent, Eastern European, perhaps Baltic, betrayed his origins as he demanded Daniel Bennett's AI defense patents. The black box wasn't just a jammer. It was a quantum bomb, its AI core hacked to evade detection, set to detonate at the tunnel's end. Sophia was leverage, her life the key to billions. Passengers froze, some whispering prayers, others staring blankly. The second guard, zip-tied, strained uselessly. The journalist, clutching his notebook, shrank back, his bravado gone. Kara processed every detail. Mason's stance by the dining car, Grayson's grip on Sophia. The bomb's faint pulse. Her cover held. No one glanced at her. She'd seen setups like this. Covert ops gone wrong, traps sprung in the dark. The tunnel's confines amplified the stakes. No escape. No backup, only seconds to act. Her fingers brushed the multi-tool in her bag, her mind mapping the train's layout. 12 cars, a service hatch beneath her, wiring hubs within reach. The bomb's hum stuttered, a flaw she could exploit. Sophia's eyes flicked toward the rear, catching Kara's for a split second. The girl's courage was a spark Kara could use. Mason paced, his sat phone buzzing with demands from his handlers. Grayson's taser wavered, his nerves betraying him. Kara calculated. 12 minutes until the bomb's timer hit critical. Less before the train reached the detonator. The tunnel's walls seemed to close in, the air thick with fear. Passengers' whispers grew desperate, but Kara's calm was absolute. She didn't need to move yet. Timing was her weapon. The hijackers thought they held the board, but Kara was already shifting the pieces, her plan forming in the dark. The Aurora Express hurtled through the obsidian tunnel, its silver cars trembling under the weight of the hijackers' control. The cabin's air grew stifling. The quantum bomb's low hum a constant reminder of the ticking clock. Sophia Bennett stood rigid, Grayson's taser pressed against her spine, her eyes sharp with defiance despite the fear. Passengers cowered, their whispers a fragile thread against the train's rumble. Mason, near the dining car, barked into his sat phone, his scarred knuckles tightening as his handlers reported the bomb's glitch. In the rear car, Kara Evans sat motionless, her gray jumpsuit blending into the shadows, her cap shielding her gaze. To the passengers, she was nothing, a technician, part of the train's machinery. But her mind was a blade, slicing through the chaos with lethal precision. Kara's eyes traced the cabin, 12 cars, 60 passengers, for exits, and a service hatch beneath her seat. She'd memorized the Aurora schematics in a Denver safe house, every wire and panel etched in her memory. The bomb's black box, wired into the comms panel, pulsed erratically, a military-grade device, but not flawless. Its faint stutter betrayed a power draw, a weakness she could exploit. She'd dismantled worse in Yemen. Under fire, with less to work with. Her bag, tucked under her seat, held a multi-tool, a hairpin, and a wire stripper. Minimal, but enough. The hijackers hadn't searched her, their second mistake. Sophia's gaze flicked toward the rear, meeting Kara's for a fleeting moment. The girl's intuition was sharp, honed by her father's world of secrets. Kara nodded subtly, a signal to stay calm. Mason's focus was forward, barking orders into his phone. Grayson's hand shook, his taser unsteady but deadly. Kara calculated. 10 minutes until the bomb's timer hit critical. Less before the train reached the tunnel's detonator. Her seat's position was deliberate, closest to the hatch, with a clear view of the cabin's dynamics. The control car's dashboard, visible through a glass partition, blinked warnings no one else noticed. Her past flickered in her mind. Black Ops, a betrayal in Yemen that cost her team, her career torched by faceless brass. She'd sworn off trust, working alone in shadows where no one looked. This job wasn't about money. It was about the board, the game she played better than anyone. The coded message 3 days prior, coordinates, Sophia's name, hadn't come from Daniel Bennett, but someone with his reach. The why didn't matter, the how did. Kara's fingers brushed the hairpin. Its bent tip a relic of past missions. She could reach the undercarriage, disrupt the bomb, but timing was everything. The tunnel's walls seemed to tighten, amplifying every sound. The passengers' stifled sobs, Mason's clipped commands, the bomb's ominous hum. The journalist, clutching his notebook, watched Mason, sensing a story but too scared to act. The guards, bound and useless, stared helplessly. Kara ignored them. They were noise, not signal. Her plan hinged on precision: sabotage the bomb, create a signal window, and neutralize the hijackers. Grayson was the weak link, his nerves fraying. Mason was the threat, his training evident in every move. Sophia shifted slightly, her courage holding despite Grayson's taser. Kara's mind locked onto the next step, a diversion to split the hijackers' focus. The tunnel was her ally, its darkness hiding her intent. She didn't need a weapon yet. Her mind was sharper. The passenger's fear was a distraction, but Sophia's spark was an asset. Kara's pulse stayed even, her calm a shield forged in darker places. The game was hers to turn. The Aurora Express roared through the obsidian tunnel, its silver cars trapped in a 20-mile cage of stone and shadow. The cabin pulsed with tension, the quantum bombs hum a relentless countdown. Sophia Bennett stood frozen, Grayson's taser pressed against her, her eyes sharp with defiance despite the fear. Passengers huddled, their whispers drowned by the train's rumble. While Mason's voice barked into his sat phone, his scarred knuckles tightening as his handlers reported the bomb's glitch. In the rear car, Kara Evans moved, her bulk belying a predator's grace. Her gray jumpsuit blended into the dimness, her cap low, shielding eyes that burned with focus. The hijackers hadn't noticed her, their arrogance a crack she'd exploit. Kara slid to the floor, silent, her fingers finding the service hatch beneath her seat. The hairpin in her bag slipped into the lock, its click swallowed by the cabin's chaos. She dropped into the undercarriage. A maze of cables and steel pressing close, the train's vibrations rattling her bones. The bomb's power source, a compact node wired into the comms, glowed faintly ahead, its heat prickling her skin. Kara's multi-tool flicked open, her hands steady despite the stakes. She'd dismantled traps like this in Yemen, under gunfire, with seconds to spare. The node's pulse stuttered, overheating. Vulnerable. She stripped a wire, her movements surgical, and spliced a circuit to divert power, destabilizing the bomb's timer. A faint beep echoed. The device faltered, its rhythm breaking. A signal, weak but alive, pinged a Montana military outpost, a lifeline in the dark. Above, Mason's sat phone crackled, his voice sharpening as the bomb's glitch registered. Check the panel. He snapped, unaware of the ghost below. Kara crawled forward, the undercarriage's confines scraping her shoulders. Her mind mapped the next target, the wiring hub controlling comms. If she could bypass the bomb's lockout, she'd widen the signal window. The tunnel's walls vibrated, the train's speed a relentless pressure. Her bag, slung across her chest, held the wire stripper, its weight a quiet reassurance. Sophia's courage held, her gaze flicking to the rear as if sensing Kara's presence. The girl was a spark in the chaos, an asset Kara would use. The passenger's fear was a fog, clouding the hijacker's focus, but time was shrinking. 8 minutes until the bomb's critical point, less before the tunnel's end. Grayson's nervous pacing near Sophia betrayed his inexperience. Mason's cold precision was the real threat. Kara's sabotage had bought seconds, but the game was far from one. She reached the wiring hub, a tangle of circuits pulsing with the train's lifeblood. Her fingers worked fast, stripping insulation, bridging a connection. The comms flickered, a whisper of static breaking through. She didn't need a reply, just a ping to confirm the outpost had her signal. Above, Mason's boots thudded, his suspicion rising. Something's wrong, he growled, his voice carrying through the vent. Kara's wound from her earlier missions ached, a dull reminder of her limits, but she pushed it aside. Her training, black ops, covert sabotage, kept her steady. The tunnel's darkness was her shield, the train's rumble her cover. She secured the hub, the signal now looping, a beacon in the void. Mason's sat phone buzzed again, his handler's voices frantic. Kara's sabotage had cracked their control, but the bomb still ticked. She needed a diversion to move again, to shift the board. Sophia's spark, the passenger's panic. The tunnel's confines. All were pieces in her game. Kara's breath steadied, her next move clear in the suffocating dark. The Aurora Express thundered through the obsidian tunnel, its silver cars a fleeting gleam in the suffocating dark. The quantum bomb's hum pulsed like a heartbeat, its timer ticking down to catastrophe. Sophia Bennett stood rigid. Grayson's taser pressed into her back, her auburn hair catching the cabin's flickering light. Her sharp eyes, honed by years in her father's tech world, darted toward the rear. Sensing a shift in the chaos, passengers cowered, their whispers a fragile thread against the train's rumble. Mason, near the dining car, barked into his sat phone, his scarred knuckles tightening as his handlers reported the bomb's glitch. In the undercarriage, Kara Evans crouched, her sabotage complete. A rewired circuit had destabilized the bomb, sending a faint signal to a Montana outpost. But time was a blade at her throat. She needed to move. Kara's fingers brushed the vent above, her view of the cabin slatted but clear. Sophia's gaze met hers through the gap, a flicker of understanding passing between them. Kara tapped a subtle pulse on the wiring, a Morse-like signal, faint but deliberate. Sophia, raised on encrypted systems, caught it, her posture shifting. Kara's nod was a silent command. Act. Sophia didn't hesitate. She knocked over a tray of drinks, crystal glasses shattering across the aisle. The crash echoed, passengers gasping as liquid splashed their suits. Grayson spun, his taser dipping, his curse sharp. "Stay still," he snapped, his focus fracturing. Mason's head whipped toward the noise, his sat phone lowering as he stormed toward Sophia. The diversion was Kara's window. She eased the vent open, silent as a shadow, and slipped into the dining car's alcove. Her gray jumpsuit blended with the dimness, her bulk belying her grace. Grayson's back was to her, his taser wavering as he berated Sophia. Kara moved, her arm locking around his neck in a precise chokehold. Clean, silent, a technique honed in Black Ops missions. Grayson crumpled, his taser clattering to the floor. Passengers stifled screams. But Kara's glare, cold and commanding, silenced them. She dragged Grayson behind a curtain, zip-tying his wrists with a cable from her bag. Her movements swift despite the ache in her side from past wounds. Sophia's quick thinking had split the hijacker's focus, but Mason was closing in, his boots heavy on the carpet. He sensed the shift, his eyes narrowing as he scanned the cabin. "Grayson," he called, his voice a blade. Silence answered. Kara tucked Grayson's taser into her jumpsuit, its weight a quiet promise. The bomb's hum grew erratic, her sabotage working, but not enough. The timer was still active, synced to a detonator at the tunnel's end. 7 minutes remained. The train sped a relentless countdown. Sophia sat again, her hands steady despite Grayson's absence, her eyes flicking to Kara's hiding spot. The girl was brave, a spark in the dark. Kara's mind raced. Mason was the alpha, his training, maybe Spetsnaz, evident in his precision. She needed him distracted, off balance, to reach the control car. The journalist, clutching his notebook, watched Mason, his pen frozen. The guards, bound and useless, stared helplessly. Kara's sabotage had bought time, but the game wasn't won. The tunnel's walls pressed closer, the train's rumble masking her breath. Mason's sat phone buzzed again, his handler's voices frantic. Kara's signal to the outpost was live, but no rescue was here yet. She needed Sophia's courage again, another move to tilt the game. Her hand tightened on the taser, her plan solidifying in the dark. The Aurora Express shuddered through the obsidian tunnel, its silver cars vibrating with the quantum bomb's ominous pulse. The cabin was a crucible of fear, passengers huddled, their breath shallow as the timer ticked closer to disaster. Sophia Bennett sat tense, her earlier diversion, shattered glasses still strewn across the aisle, having bought precious seconds. Grayson lay unconscious behind a curtain, zip-tied by Kara Evans, whose gray jumpsuit blended into the dining car's shadows. Her sabotage had destabilized the bomb, but Mason, the scarred hijacker, remained a lethal force. His sat phone dropped as he sensed Grayson's absence, his voice a low growl. "Grayson, report." Silence answered, sharpening his gaze. Kara crouched behind the curtain, Grayson's stolen taser in her grip, her side aching from old scars, but her focus unbreakable. Mason stormed down the aisle, his taser raised, eyes sweeping the cabin. Sophia's courage held, her gaze steady despite the chaos, a silent ally to Kara's plan. Kara signaled her with a subtle flick of her wrist, "Stay still." Mason's boots stopped inches from the curtain, his shadow looming large. He was trained, Spetsnaz, perhaps, his movements precise, deadly. Kara lunged, aiming the taser at his ribs, but Mason's reflexes were a blur. He parried, a concealed blade flashing from his sleeve, slicing Kara's side. Blood seeped through her jumpsuit, pain flaring like fire, but she swallowed it, her training overriding instinct. She ducked his next swing, her elbow slamming into his chest with a crack. Mason grunted, staggering into a seat, but countered with a brutal kick to her knee, nearly buckling her. The narrow corridor was a cage, amplifying every strike. Passengers gasped, their fear a distant hum in Kara's world. She feinted left, then drove the taser into Mason's arm, sparks erupting. He roared, his blade grazing her shoulder, drawing more blood. Kara's bulk was her misdirection. She moved with a dancer's grace, twisting his wrist until it snapped. The blade clattered to the floor, and Mason dropped, convulsing under the taser's charge. She zip-tied his wrists, her hands steady despite the blood soaking her side. The cabin fell silent, passengers staring, awestruck and terrified. Sophia's eyes widened, her trust in Kara absolute. The bomb's hum grew erratic, its timer still active. 6 minutes until detonation, the tunnels end looming. Kara kicked Mason's blade under a seat, her breath ragged but controlled. The journalist, his notebook trembling, scribbled frantically, sensing history unfolding. The guards, bound and useless, watched in stunned silence. Kara's mind raced. The bomb's primary trigger was in the control car, and she needed to reach it before the detonator at the tunnel's exit. Mason's sat phone buzzed, his handler's voices a distant snarl. She ignored it, her focus narrowing to the next move. The tunnel's walls seemed to pulse, the train's speed a relentless pressure. Kara's wound throbbed, blood pooling, but pain was a lesson she'd learned to ignore in Yemen's dust-choked alleys. Sophia's diversion had split the hijackers, but the game wasn't won. The passengers' fear was a liability, their whispers threatening to unravel her cover. Kara's glare silenced a whimpering mogul, her authority absolute. She slipped toward the control car, the taser heavy in her jumpsuit. Her plan shifting. The bomb's signal was weak, her sabotage holding, but time was a noose tightening. Sophia's spark, the passengers' panic, the tunnel's confines, all were pieces on her board. Kara moved, a ghost in the chaos, her next play already forming. The Aurora Express shuddered through the obsidian tunnel, its silver cars a fleeting gleam against the quantum bomb's relentless hum. The cabin was a pressure cooker, passengers paralyzed as Mason lay zip-tied behind a curtain, his taser sparks still fading. Sophia Bennett sat rigid, her earlier diversion having bought Kara Evans critical seconds. Kara, blood seeping from her sliced side, crouched in the dining car's shadows, her gray jumpsuit stained but her resolve unyielding. Grayson was down, Mason neutralized, yet the bomb's timer ticked on, 5 minutes until detonation. The train's rumble masked her ragged breaths, but a new threat stirred, sharper than Mason's blade. A passenger rose, Claire, Daniel Bennett's wiry aide, her tablet glowing with a map of the Aurora's route. Kara's instincts flared. Claire's trembling hands weren't fear, but calculation. The tablet's feed, real-time, encrypted, showed data only the hijackers should have. Kara's mind clicked. Claire was the mole, feeding Mason the train's path. Before Kara could move, Claire darted to the comms panel, her fingers tapping a code to reactivate the bomb's timer. The device's hum surged, its red light pulsing faster. Kara lunged, tackling Claire against a seat, her arm pinning the aide's throat. "Why?" Kara hissed, her voice low, lethal. Claire's smirk was venomous. Bennett's empire needs to fall. The betrayal cut deeper than Kara's wound. Claire, Sophia's trusted confidant, had sold the girl's life for a rival's gain, likely a competitor eyeing Daniel's AI patents. Passengers gasped, their trust shattered, Sophia's eyes widened, her world unraveling. Kara zip-tied Claire's wrists, her movements swift despite the pain flaring in her side. The journalist, clutching his notebook, scribbled furiously, sensing a scandal. The guards, still bound, stared in disbelief. The bomb's timer flickered, reset by Claire's code, now at 4 minutes. Kara's sabotage had delayed it, but the mole's interference tightened the noose. Sophia's gaze met Kara's, a mix of shock and resolve. The girl's courage was a lifeline, but the cabin's chaos threatened to spiral. Kara dragged Claire behind a partition, her glare silencing a whimpering mogul. The tunnel's walls pressed closer, the train's speed a relentless countdown. Mason's sat phone, tucked in Kara's pocket, buzzed, his handlers demanding answers. She ignored it, her mind mapping the next move. The bomb's primary trigger was in the control car, and a secondary device waited on the roof. Claire's betrayal had cost time. But Kara's training, forged in Yemen's betrayals, kept her steady. She needed to reach the roof, disable the secondary trigger, but Claire's actions had drawn attention. A passenger whispered, "Who is she?" Kara's cover thinning. She didn't care. Exposure was a risk she'd accepted. The bomb's hum grew erratic, her earlier rewiring holding but strained. Sophia's spark, the passenger's fear. The tunnel's dark, all were pieces in her game. Kara's wound throbbed, blood soaking her jumpsuit, but pain was a ghost she'd long buried. She slipped toward a maintenance ladder, the taser heavy in her hand. The control car loomed, the timer's red glow a taunt. The train's rumble was a heartbeat, the tunnel a tomb. Kara's sabotage had cracked the hijackers' plan, but Claire's treachery had raised the stakes. For minutes remained, the detonator at the tunnel's end closing in. Kara's plan shifted, neutralized the roof trigger, then seized the controls. She moved, a shadow in the chaos, her blood marking the floor, her resolve a blade cutting through the dark. The Aurora Express roared through the obsidian tunnel, its silver cars trembling as the quantum bomb's pulse quickened, a death knell in the dark. The cabin was a cauldron of fear. Passengers frozen after Claire's betrayal exposed her as the hijacker's mole. Sophia Bennett sat rigid, her eyes locked on the spot where Kara Evans had vanished. Her courage a faint spark in the chaos. Kara, blood seeping from her wounded side, slipped through a maintenance hatch, her gray jumpsuit stained but her resolve unyielding. Grayson and Mason were down, Claire zip-tied, but the bomb's secondary trigger, bolted to the train's roof, ticked on, its timer at 4 minutes. Kara climbed a narrow ladder, emerging onto the Aurora's sleek surface. The tunnel's wind howled, a gale of icy air and sparks from the tracks below. The roof was a treacherous strip, slick with condensation. The ceiling inches above, a stone guillotine. Kara crawled forward, her wound screaming with each move, the train's speed a relentless force. The secondary trigger, a small device blinking red, was bolted near the lead car. Its timer glowed, 3 minutes, 40 seconds. Kara's multi-tool flicked open, her hands steady despite the wind's assault. A wrong cut would detonate it instantly, turning the train into a fireball. Her training, Black Ops in Yemen's chaos, kept her focused, her fingers tracing wires she'd memorized in schematics. The tunnel's darkness was absolute, broken only by the device's red pulse. Mason's sat phone, tucked in her pocket, buzzed furiously, his handlers sensing their plan unraveling. Kara ignored it, her world narrowing to the trigger circuits. She stripped a wire, rerouting the current, her breath hitching as the timer slowed to a crawl. The device stuttered, its pulse weakening, but didn't stop. 2 minutes remained. The train shuddered, its speed pushing the limits, the tunnels and a faint glow ahead. Kara's wound bled freely, her vision blurring, but she pressed on, her fingers deft, her mind a steel trap. Below, the cabin's tension spiked. Passengers whispered, their fear of fog. Sophia, pierced with a steady gaze. She'd seen Kara's signal, trusted her unseen ally. The journalist, his pen shaking, scribbled fragments of the scene, sensing a story no one would believe. The guards, still bound, strained uselessly. Kara's sabotage had cracked the bomb's control, but Claire's reset had tightened the deadline. The roof's wind tore at her jumpsuit, sparks stinging her skin. She secured the final wire, the timer freezing at 1 minute, 30 seconds. The trigger was down, But the primary bomb in the control car still ticked. Kara slid back to the ladder, her strength waning, blood pooling in her boots. The tunnel's ceiling grazed her back, a reminder of the stakes. She dropped into the undercarriage, the train's rumble masking her gasps. The control car was her next target, the bomb's core waiting. Sophia's courage. The passengers' panic, the tunnel's confines. All were pieces in her game. Kara's taser, stolen from Grayson, was heavy in her hand, a lifeline for what came next. The train's dashboard, visible through a vent, blinked wildly, the AI fighting her sabotage. 1 minute remained, the tunnel's exit looming. Kara's wound slowed her, but her resolve was iron. Forged in betrayals she'd buried. She moved toward the control car, the bombs hum a taunt, her blood trailing behind. The game was hers to win, and she'd play it to the end, a ghost in the dark. Unyielding, the Aurora Express hurtled toward the obsidian tunnel's exit, its silver cars trembling under the quantum bomb's fading pulse. The cabin was a frozen tableau of fear. Passengers clutching seats as Sophia Bennett's steady gaze held a spark of hope. Kara Evans, blood soaking her gray jumpsuit, emerged from the undercarriage, her rooftop sabotage having stalled the bomb's secondary trigger. 1 minute remained until detonation, the primary device still active in the control car. She staggered toward the forward cabin, her wound a fire in her side, but her focus was a blade honed in Yemen's chaos. Mason, Grayson, and the mole Claire were bound, but the train's AI dashboard blinked erratically, fighting her earlier rewiring. Kara slipped into the control car, where the pilot, a grizzled engineer, lay slumped, tasered by Mason. The dashboard's red glow showed the bomb's timer, 50 seconds. Her Black Ops training kicked in. She wasn't a conductor, but she'd flown drones, rerouted missiles. The Aurora's controls were sleek, digital, unforgiving. She disengaged the autopilot. The train lurching violently, passengers screaming as seats rattled. Sophia, strapped in, watched through the glass partition, her trust in Kara absolute. Kara's voice, steady despite her pain, crackled over the comms. Aurora Express, emergency stop. Bomb on board. Montana base, respond. Static, then a voice, clear to halt. Coordinates locked. The tunnels glowed faintly. Moonlight piercing the dark. Kara's hands gripped the controls, her wound bleeding freely, vision blurring. The bomb's primary trigger, wired into the dashboard, pulsed at 30 seconds. Her multi-tool flicked open, stripping a final wire to lock her sabotage in place. The timer froze at 15 seconds, her rewiring holding. She slammed the brakes, the train screeching, metal groaning against the tracks. Sparks flew outside, the Rockies' silhouette looming as the Aurora slowed. Passengers braced, some praying, others sobbing. The journalist's pen scratched, capturing the chaos. The train stopped just beyond the tunnel, its cars bathed in starlight, the bomb silent. Kara exhaled, her strength fading. She wiped the controls, erasing her prints, a habit from years in shadows. Military teams from Montana swarmed, their boots crunching gravel as medics boarded. Kara slipped to the rear, her bag slung over her shoulder. Blood trailing. The service hatch, still ajar from her earlier moves, was her exit. She dropped into the undercarriage, landing on the rocky ground, the night swallowing her. Sophia's voice echoed faintly, calling for the technician, but Kara was gone. The passengers' relief was palpable, their fear giving way to shaky gratitude. The guards, freed by soldiers, muttered about a woman they hadn't seen. The journalist, sensing a buried truth, clutched his notes. Kara's sabotage had saved them, her signal drawing the outpost's response. But her presence was a ghost, her name erased from the manifest. The tunnel's dark had been her stage, and she'd played it perfectly. As medics tended the pilot, Kara vanished into the rocky shadows, her wound a throbbing reminder of the cost. The train's dashboard blinked, its AI credited for the save. She didn't care. Fame was a trap. Her burner phone, tucked in her bag, held a new message, coordinates, a name, a job in Seattle. The game never ended. Sophia's courage, the passenger's survival, her own blood, all were pieces in a war she fought alone. Kara moved, a shadow among shadows, her next move already forming in the starlit night. The Aurora Express stood still under the Rocky Mountains' starlit sky, its silver cars gleaming faintly beyond the obsidian tunnel's mouth. The quantum bomb, silenced by Kara Evans's sabotage, lay dormant, its threat extinguished. Passengers, shaken but alive, huddled as Montana military teams swarmed, their flashlights cutting through the night. Sophia Bennett, her auburn hair disheveled, scanned the cabin for the woman who'd saved them, her voice trembling as she asked a medic about the technician. No one answered. Kara was gone, her bloodied jumpsuit a ghost in the dark. She'd slipped through the service hatch, vanishing into the Rockies' shadows, her prints wiped from the controls, her presence erased. By dawn, headlines blazed. Aurora Express saved by AI miracle. Military debriefs at a Montana base sanitized the story. Sophia's account, a fierce woman who'd fought hijackers and stopped a bomb, was dismissed as trauma-induced. The journalist, his notebook filled with frantic scrawls, was silenced with a lucrative exclusive on Daniel Bennett's next venture. The guards, freed but humiliated, stayed quiet. Mason, Grayson, and the mole Claire were whisked to a black site, their interrogations yielding no trace of Kara. The train's cameras showed static where she'd been. Her technician entry in the manifest was replaced by a generic placeholder. Someone, CIA, Bennett, or higher, wanted her erased. Daniel Bennett stood at a Denver press conference, his face a mask of relief as he praised the train's AI. Sophia, beside him, clutched a sketch of Kara, hidden in her pocket, her eyes searching her father's for answers. His gaze flickered when a reporter asked about unconfirmed heroics. If someone helped, he said, voice low, they know we're grateful. The room missed the weight of his words. But in a Seattle safe house, Kara didn't. Watching on a burner phone, she saw his pause, the unspoken debt. Her wound, crudely stitched, ached as she burned her jumpsuit, the blood-soaked fabric ash by morning. Her past was a shadow. Yemen, a betrayed mission, her team's blood on her hands. She'd walked away, burned by command, choosing a ghost's life. The Aurora job wasn't random. The coded tip, Sophia's name, the train's route, came from someone with Bennett's reach, perhaps Bennett himself, hedging his empire's enemies. His silence protected her anonymity, but also his secrets. Kara didn't resent it. It was the game. A new message pinged on her burner. Coordinates, a name, a San Francisco gala. Another job, another shadow to hunt. She memorized it, crushed the device, and slipped into the night. Sophia's sketch, the journalist's quiet digging, the passengers' whispers, they carried Kara's ghost. But she didn't care. Fame was a chain, anonymity her armor. The Aurora's passengers resumed their lives, unaware of the war she fought. Bennett's empire stood, his patents safe. But his eyes held a debt he'd never voice. In Seattle's rain, Kara packed her bag, multi-tool, hairpin, wire stripper, her tools for the next fight. The Rockies faded behind her, the tunnel a memory. Her blood a price paid. The world spun on, blind to her. Sophia's courage, the passengers' survival, the bomb's silence. They were her victory, not headlines. Her war was endless, fought in shadows where names didn't matter. The San Francisco job loomed, another board, another move. Kara vanished, a wraith in the dark, her purpose carved in the lives she'd saved. Now a sanitized headline, faded into myth, its truth buried under tales of AI triumph. In a barren safe house, she checked her tools, multi-tool, hairpin, wire stripper, ready for the San Francisco gala. Its cryptic message burned into her memory. Sophia Bennett's sketch, glimpsed on a news feed, was too sharp, a crack in her anonymity. Someone was hunting her, and Kara felt their gaze. In Denver, Sophia hid her drawing in a locked drawer, her questions about the tunnel unanswered. Daniel Bennett's silence, his empire safe, his eyes guarded, hinted at secrets. A journalist's call, probing the Aurora's mystery, stirred unease. His notes mentioned a woman, unseen by cameras. A Montana soldier's buried report, describing a bloodied figure vanishing into the Rockies, had leaked to the wrong ears. Kara's ghost was stirring ripples, her erasure incomplete. The gala job wasn't random. Its coded tip echoed the Aurora's precision. Likely Bennett's hand, or a shadow higher up. The gala's layout was mapped in her mind. 200 guests, 5 exits, Bennett's tech in the walls. The target was unclear, but the stakes were not. Kara packed her bag, the rain erasing her steps. The journalists digging, Sophia's sketch, Bennett's silence. They were threads in a larger web, pulling her back. Her war was endless, fought in shadows where names dissolved. The San Francisco lights waited, a stage for her next move, her blood a vow to keep fighting. Kara Evans's journey on the Aurora Express illuminates a profound truth. Heroism thrives in the absence of applause. She risked her life, her blood staining the train's shadows, to save Sophia Bennett and countless others from a quantum bomb's wrath. Her past, scarred by betrayal in Yemen, forged her into a solitary force, acting not for fame, but for those caught in chaos. She dismantled hijackers, exposed a traitor, and stopped a catastrophe, yet vanished without a trace, her name erased by those who owed her everything. This is courage's essence, selfless acts in the dark, driven by purpose, not praise. In a world chasing visibility, Kara's shadow proves that true impact needs no spotlight. Her fight, uncelebrated, saved lives, echoing the quiet strength of countless unsung heroes. The medic who works past midnight, the neighbor who intervenes in crisis, the friend who listens when hope falters. Kara's war, fought alone, teaches that one choice, unseen, can shift destinies. You hold that power. Look around. Someone needs your strength, your voice, your resolve. It may be a small act, helping a stranger, defending a cause, or standing firm in silence. You don't need a train or a bomb to make a difference. Act without seeking recognition, as Kara did, her blood a testament to purpose over glory. The world changes through those who move in shadows, their courage a ripple that outlasts headlines. Be that ripple. Step up, unseen, and alter the course of a life today.